Chosen one, you are not here by accident. This moment has been summoned by heaven, aligned by divine timing, and appointed specifically for your spirit. Before you pressed play, heaven already marked this encounter. What drew you here was not curiosity, it was alignment. Something has shifted in the unseen, and God has positioned you to hear this word at the exact moment your spirit was ready to receive it. Chosen one. You are standing at the edge of a supernatural breakthrough. This is not ordinary progress. This is sudden elevation. This is divine funding. This is heaven stepping into your timeline with provision, clarity, and authority. The weight you have been carrying is not meant to follow you into this next season. As it is written in Philippians chapter 4, verse 19, God supplies all your needs according to his riches in glory, not from the limits of this world, but from the abundance of heaven. Anointed one, you are entering a realm where God funds what he authors, where divine strategy meets supernatural supply, where survival ends and stewardship begins. What has been delayed is now aligning. What felt withheld was being prepared. Heaven has not forgotten you. Heaven has been preparing you. Chosen one, settle your spirit. Release the worry. Open your heart. What God is about to reveal will shift how you see provision, purpose, and your future. This is not hype. This is prophecy. And it has your name written on it. Chosen one. There comes a moment in every destiny where heaven steps so close that the air around you begins to shift, and this is that moment for you. You may not fully grasp it yet, but something holy is pressing against the edges of your life, rearranging what once felt fixed, loosening the grip of what once held you, and preparing you for a chapter that does not look anything like the battles you've survived. I have lived long enough, walked through enough valleys, and stood in enough quiet midnights to recognize the sound of divine movement. And what I sense over your life right now carries the unmistakable weight of a supernatural turning point. The same God who lifted me when I could not lift myself is stepping into your timeline with provision, clarity, and divine funding that does not depend on the limitations you see. Chosen one. The heaviness you've been carrying, the weight you've been dragging through your days, is loosening. The fear that whispered to you in the dark, telling you that you would not make it, is losing its authority. The delays that made you question your worth are dissolving under the force of God's perfect timing. I remember seasons where everything in my life felt like one long emergency, where every bill felt like pressure, every decision felt like a mountain, and every quiet moment felt like a reminder that I was running out of strength. But even in those seasons, heaven was waiting behind the curtain. Every time I reached the end of what I could carry, something unexpected appeared: a provision, a conversation, a solution, a sign that I was not walking alone. Looking back, I realized those moments were not accidents. They were divine patterns, subtle proofs that God was not only aware of my struggle, but preparing the path I didn't know how to walk. Chosen one. The same grace is rising over your life. The same invisible hand that lifted me is lifting you now. You are being moved from a life built on survival into a life supported by supernatural supply. And your spirit already knows this is true because something inside you is awakening, remembering, rising. You are entering the realm where God funds what he authors, where divine strategy meets supernatural supply, where the promise on your life begins to manifest in ways that cannot be traced back to your effort alone. I've seen God move in ways that defy logic, ways that arrive quietly and suddenly all at once. There was a woman I once spoke with who carried a dream for almost a decade. She buried it because she thought her window had closed, her chance had passed. But one ordinary afternoon, someone overheard her passion, and within weeks, everything she needed was funded, supported, and released. She told me later, God couldn't release it until I stopped surviving and started believing again. Chosen one. This is your moment to believe again. Heaven has been preparing something for you that your fear could not see, that your exhaustion could not imagine, and that your doubt could not cancel. For so long you have carried responsibilities heavier than anyone around you realized. You have stretched yourself thin, trying to make life work with what little you had. You've been faithful in silence, steady in storms, persistent in shadows. And now heaven is responding. What once required all your strength will soon be carried by divine momentum. What once drained you will soon flow with ease. You are stepping into holy provision, not the kind that appears once and fades, but the kind that becomes a rhythm in your life, a pattern of grace that keeps unfolding. Peace is coming, clarity is coming, ideas are coming, favor is coming. Divine timing is approaching you like a wave rising from the unseen. You are stepping into blessings you did not chase, opportunities you did not force, and doors you did not knock on. Chosen one, lift your head. Something is shifting around you and within you. You may feel moments of restlessness, moments where you sense something is moving, even if your eyes cannot yet see it. This is spiritual confirmation. Heaven is realigning your steps. The atmosphere around your life is changing. The places where you once felt restricted will begin to open. The thoughts that once pulled you down will lose their grip. The fears that once shaped your decisions will lose their voice. You are stepping into a life heaven has already prepared for you, a life that carries the weight of purpose, the breath of destiny, and the abundance of a God who does not run out. I can tell you from my own journey, nothing about this transition will feel accidental. You will look back and realize that even the moments that felt like detours were actually alignments. Even the places where you felt stuck were actually places where God was fortifying you. You're not being pushed into a blessing you are unprepared for. You are being guided into a blessing you were shaped for. This is why heaven is lifting the survival narrative off your life. This is why divine provision is rising like dawn over the horizon of your story. This is why your spirit feels more awake now than it has in years. Something holy is unfolding, and you are standing at the threshold of it. Chosen one. There is a holy stirring happening within you right now, a gentle but undeniable pull that tells you your life is shifting into a realm you have never walked in before. You may not have the language for it yet, but your spirit recognizes the sound of heaven's movement. It feels like a quiet awakening, like something inside you is stretching after being dormant for too long, like a forgotten part of you is remembering why you were created in the first place. This is not imagination. This is spiritual alignment. Heaven is adjusting you, preparing you, reshaping you for a season that requires a version of you that fear could not produce and struggle could not steal. There were years where you poured out every ounce of strength you had, years where you moved from crisis to crisis, years where it felt like life demanded more from you than you had to give. But what you did not realize in those seasons is that heaven was observing, collecting, and storing every tear, every effort, every act of faith that no one saw. And now, chosen one, heaven is returning what you sowed in ways that will surpass what you imagined. I have walked through seasons where I felt completely unseen, where every prayer seemed to echo back in silence, where every step forward felt like sinking deeper into the unknown. Yet even in those silent seasons, something profound was taking place. God was teaching me to hear in the dark, to trust without evidence, to rely on a strength that was not my own. And when my breakthrough finally came, it came suddenly in ways I could not have predicted or orchestrated. It taught me something I will never forget. Heaven's timing does not operate on human clocks. When God moves, He moves in fullness, not fragments. And the same fullness is approaching your life now. What once felt delayed is aligning. Or what once felt denied is being released. What once felt broken is being rebuilt. Chosen one, your obedience in the valley has made you eligible for elevation on the mountain. You are stepping into a realm where the support you once begged for will pursue you, where resources you once scraped for will appear with divine orchestration, where opportunities that once felt unreachable will begin to magnetize themselves to you, as if your name is being whispered in rooms you have not entered yet. This is the season where God becomes your source in ways you have only imagined. Not just spiritually, but emotionally, mentally, and yes, financially. So many people misunderstand divine provision. They think it only means having enough, but God is not a God of just enough. He is a God of overflow. And when heaven funds your life, it does not trickle in. It arrives like a wave. I have seen this happen in my own journey, moments when I had no idea how things would come together, yet somehow everything aligned with perfect precision, not because of my effort, but because heaven had already decided the outcome. Chosen one, that same precision is entering your story. You can feel it in the subtle shifts taking place, the conversations that suddenly carry more meaning, the ideas that spark inside you without warning, the doors that seem to open with less resistance than before. These are not coincidences. These are confirmations. Heaven is guiding you with a gentle but undeniable hand, preparing you for the next dimension of your calling. You might even notice that the things which once overwhelmed you no longer feel as threatening. The weight that once crushed your spirit now feels lighter. The worries that once consumed your thoughts now seem smaller. This is because heaven is lifting burdens from you, burdens you were never meant to carry alone. You are being transitioned from striving into surrender, from stress into supernatural rest, from fear-driven decisions into faith-led steps. And as this inner transformation deepens, you will also begin to see the external evidence of heaven's movement. People who once overlooked you will begin to notice your presence. Situations that once resisted you will begin to cooperate. Opportunities that once intimidated you will begin to look like stepping stones rather than obstacles. This is not arrogance. This is divine alignment. Heaven is positioning you in ways that match the weight of your destiny. You were not created to live in the shadows. You were not meant to shrink yourself to make others comfortable. You were designed to carry spiritual authority, and now that authority is rising to the surface. I have lived through desperate seasons where I longed for breakthrough, not realizing that the breakthrough was being built within me long before it appeared around me. And now I tell you this from experience. When heaven begins to shift your internal posture, the external shift is inevitable. You are not being prepared for small things. You are being prepared for influence, impact, and divine purpose. You are stepping into conversations that will redirect your path. You are stepping into clarity that will silence years of confusion. You are stepping into provision that will break the cycles of lack you've endured. Heaven is not simply giving you what you need. Heaven is giving you what was always written for you. Chosen one, allow this truth to settle deeply. You are not at the end, you are at the beginning. You are not collapsing, you are awakening. You are not being overlooked, you are being positioned. Heaven is aligning your steps with a future only God could design. Something in you knows this is real. Something in you feels the shift. Something in you is rising to meet what heaven has already prepared. Chosen one, as this awakening deepens, you may notice your inner landscape changing in ways you can't fully explain. There is a stillness forming inside you, a clarity emerging from places that once felt tangled with fear, worry, and old expectations. This stillness is not weakness, it is strength. A strength born from finally realizing that you were never meant to carry life alone. Heaven has been guiding you quietly, patiently, and now that your spirit is aligned, the guidance is becoming louder, clearer, and more direct. You are beginning to see that the moments you thought were setbacks were actually sacred preparations. The delays were not denials. They were divine timing protecting you from paths that would have drained your spirit. I've lived through seasons like this, seasons where I begged for movement only to later realize that if God had given me what I wanted when I wanted it, I would have mishandled it. Timing isn't just about opportunity, it's about readiness. And chosen one, you are ready now in a way you weren't before. As you step into this readiness, heaven is expanding your capacity to believe again. Dreams that you buried because life felt too heavy are resurfacing. Ideas you dismissed because you thought you lacked the resources are now returning with fresh clarity. And suddenly what once felt impossible now feels inevitable. This is not random inspiration, this is divine rekindling. Heaven is breathing on the parts of you that were suffocated by survival. You are no longer in that season of scrambling for the next solution, the next bill, the next open door. You are entering a season where God becomes the orchestrator, not just the comforter. When I went through my own turning point, I didn't even notice the shift at first. All I felt was a quiet sense that something was changing, not outside of me, but within me. My thoughts became lighter. My fears felt less convincing. My spirit felt more awake. That same internal shift is happening in you right now, and as the inside changes, the outside must follow. Chosen one, relationships around you may begin to shift, some fading gently out of your life, others appearing suddenly and carrying the wisdom, encouragement, or direction you didn't know you needed. This is divine rearrangement. Heaven will not allow people who drain your spirit to accompany you into a chapter that requires spiritual strength. Nor will heaven allow isolation to swallow you. So new connections will appear often unexpectedly, people whose presence feels like alignment, not obligation. You might find yourself outgrowing conversations that once entertained you, habits that once soothed you, environments that once felt familiar. This is because your spirit is rising. And as your spirit rises, anything that confines you must fall away. This is not loss. This is elevation. With this elevation comes a new spiritual sensitivity. You will begin to discern things more quickly, the motives of people, the intentions behind opportunities, the energy of environments. What once required days of confusion will now take only moments of awareness. This is heaven sharpening your senses. You will feel nudges in your spirit, guiding you away from some things and drawing you toward others. I've learned to trust these nudges. Every time I ignored one, I found myself in battles I wasn't meant to fight. Every time I obeyed one, I found peace, protection, or provision on the other side. You are stepping into that same level of discernment now. Trust it. It is heaven's way of steering you with precision. And in this new clarity, you will begin to see your worth in ways you never have before. You will recognize that you are not defined by what you've lost, what you've survived, or what others failed to see in you. You are defined by what heaven has placed within you. When that understanding settles in your spirit, you will stop chasing validation from people who were never meant to define you. You will stop settling for environments that do not honor your growth. You will stop minimizing your calling to protect the comfort of others. Instead, you will step into your identity with authority, confidence, and peace. I've watched this happen in my own journey, moments where I finally realized that shrinking myself was dishonoring the very gifts God placed in me. And the moment I stopped shrinking, everything around me shifted. Chosen one, you are now entering that same moment of spiritual expansion. Your identity is rising, your discernment is sharpening, and your future is aligning. You're being prepared to carry blessings that once would have overwhelmed you. You're being strengthened to walk in spaces that once intimidated you. You're being positioned to receive provision that once felt out of reach. Everything is shifting not by accident, but by divine design. And as this shift continues, heaven will reveal even more of what has been waiting for you all along. Chosen one. As this unfolding deepens, you may feel as though heaven is pulling you into a new rhythm, one that doesn't operate according to the patterns you once lived by. This rhythm is slower in fear, but faster in faith. It is quieter in anxiety, but louder in revelation. You are stepping into a flow where you no longer strain to understand everything. Instead, understanding comes to you in waves of clarity that feel almost supernatural. There was a time in my own life when I lived on edge, constantly bracing for the next problem, the next bill, the next unexpected setback. I thought that being alert meant being prepared. But heaven began to show me that true preparedness doesn't come from anticipating trouble. It comes from trusting the one who secures your steps. And now that same trust is being built inside you, layer by layer, breath by breath, moment by moment, until it becomes your natural posture. As you settle into this posture, you will notice that the inner noise, the racing thoughts, the doubts, the old insecurities begins to quiet. Not because your circumstances have suddenly become perfect, but because your spirit has finally become strengthened. You are beginning to understand that peace is not the absence of pressure. Peace is the presence of God within the pressure. Even now, something deep in your spirit is saying, I can breathe again. That is not imagination. That is alignment. That is heaven affirming that you are no longer fighting life alone. When I first experienced this kind of peace, it felt unfamiliar to me. I was so accustomed to chaos that calm felt suspicious. But with time, that calm became my new normal, and I began to see life through a different lens, one shaped not by fear of what could go wrong, but by expectation of what heaven was preparing. You, chosen one, are entering that same transformation now. The peace that once felt temporary will soon feel foundational, and as this foundation strengthens, your perception of purpose will shift dramatically. You will no longer see your calling as something distant, something you'll step into someday. You will begin to realize that purpose is already moving toward you, not when you feel perfect, not when you feel fully ready, but when your heart becomes aligned with heaven's timing. There were moments in my journey when I felt deeply inadequate, convinced that God should choose someone stronger, someone wiser, someone more flawless. But purpose does not require perfection. It requires willingness. When I became willing, doors opened that I didn't even know existed. Conversations emerged that changed the trajectory of my life. Opportunities came that carried the fingerprints of heaven. Chosen one, you're standing at the threshold of similar divine opportunities. They will appear as suddenly as dawn appears after a long night, quietly but undeniably. As heaven prepares these opportunities, it will also begin to reposition you. Some of the things you once pursued will start losing their appeal, not because you are failing, but because you are maturing. Your spirit is outgrowing environments that kept you small. You will feel heaven nudging you out of circles that can no longer support the weight of who you are becoming. And though this transition may feel uncomfortable, it is necessary. Just like an eagle pushes its young out of the nest so they can discover their wings, heaven is guiding you into spaces where your potential can finally take flight. I have walked through seasons where relationships shifted without warning, where old dreams dissolved so new ones could form. At first, I resisted. But in time, I realized that nothing good God removes is ever a loss. It is always preparation for something greater. You are entering that kind of preparation now. Let the old fall away so the new can rise. This rising will bring with it a transformation in the way you make decisions. You will find that choices you once agonized over become clearer. Directions you once second-guessed now feel obvious. This is because heaven is renewing your mind, replacing old patterns of survival with new patterns of spiritual intelligence. You will begin to sense what aligns with your destiny and what does not through logic alone, but through inner knowing. I've experienced moments where a decision made no sense on paper, yet felt undeniably right in my spirit. And every time I followed that inner leading, it led to breakthrough. The same clarity is coming to you. You will walk in decisions that look bold to others, but feel natural to you because your spirit is finally tuned to heaven's frequency. And with these decisions comes a boldness that will surprise even you. Not arrogance, but confidence rooted in divine identity. You will stop apologizing for your anointing. You will stop minimizing your gifts to make others comfortable. You will stop shrinking to fit into places that were never meant to contain you. Instead, you will rise with quiet authority, carrying the presence of someone who has been touched by heaven. This authority won't need to be announced. It will be felt. Doors will open in response to it. People will listen differently because of it. Atmospheres will shift when you enter a room. I've seen this in my own journey, moments when I walked into spaces that once intimidated me and felt an unexpected sense of belonging. That feeling wasn't confidence in myself, it was confidence in who walked with me. Chosen one, prepare your spirit. You are being elevated in ways that cannot be reversed. You are being aligned with a future that has been waiting for you. And as this elevation continues, heaven will reveal even more of what has been ordained for your life. Chosen one. As this divine elevation continues to unfold within you, something deeper is happening beneath the surface, something that even you may struggle to articulate. You're beginning to feel a quiet but undeniable pull away from the life you once knew. Not because that life was all wrong, but because it was too small for who you are becoming. Heaven is expanding you from the inside out, stretching your capacity, widening your spiritual vision, and preparing you for rooms, opportunities, and responsibilities that once would have overwhelmed you. You may not fully understand this stretching, but your spirit recognizes it. Your soul feels it. There is a soft awakening happening inside you, a realization that you are meant for more than routines that drain you or environments that limit you. This is heaven calling you upward, step by step, breath by breath. As this upward call becomes louder, you will begin to notice a shift in your appetite, not physical appetite, but spiritual appetite. Conversations that once interested you now feel shallow. Distractions that used to consume your time now feel pointless. The noise of the world no longer has the same grip on your attention. Instead, you find yourself craving depth, clarity, truth, and purpose. This is one of the clearest signs that heaven is maturing you. Your spirit is being trained to recognize what feeds you and what drains you. I went through this same transformation years ago. I didn't realize what was happening at first. I simply woke up one morning and felt uninterested in everything that once entertained me. It wasn't depression. It wasn't boredom. It was spiritual evolution. God was pruning my desires so He could prepare me for destiny and chosen one. He is doing the same within you now. Along with this shift in desire, you will feel a new level of spiritual discernment rising in you. Discernment that goes beyond logic, beyond instinct, beyond human understanding. You will begin to sense truth before you hear it. You will notice misalignment before it becomes visible. You will feel the energy of situations, the motives of people, and the direction of opportunities with a clarity you did not possess before. This discernment is not meant to make you suspicious or fearful. It is meant to protect your anointing. There were moments in my own journey where discernment saved me from stepping into relationships or partnerships that would have drained my purpose. Looking back, I now see how those gentle warnings in my spirit were heaven's way of keeping me safe and aligned. You, chosen one, will experience the same protective grace. You will find yourself avoiding situations without fully knowing why, only to later discover that heaven was shielding you from something that could have hindered your destiny. As discernment grows, your confidence will deepen. Not confidence rooted in ego, but confidence rooted in spiritual identity, an identity that is no longer shaken by the opinions of others or the unpredictability of life. You will stop second-guessing who you are. You will stop apologizing for what you carry. You will stop dimming your light to comfort those who fear their own. You will begin to walk with an inner assurance that says, I know who sent me. I know who covers me. I know who carries me. This is the kind of confidence that comes not from success, but from surrender. When I learned to surrender my plans, my fears, and my expectations, I stepped into a level of boldness I never imagined possible. And that same boldness is emerging in you. It is subtle now, but soon it will become undeniable. As this confidence takes root, you will notice divine opportunities beginning to find you, not because you are chasing them, but because you are aligned with them. Heaven does not reward striving. Heaven rewards alignment. You will encounter moments that feel too perfectly timed to be coincidence. You'll meet people who speak exactly what your spirit needed to hear. You'll receive answers to questions you were afraid to ask. Doors will open that no amount of effort could have forced open. I've seen this unfold countless times in my own journey. There were seasons where nothing worked, no matter how hard I pushed. And then suddenly, when I stopped forcing and started flowing, doors that were once sealed shut opened with ease. This is the rhythm of supernatural alignment, and you, chosen one, are entering that rhythm now. With these openings will come a need for deeper rest, not physical rest alone, but spiritual rest. Rest from overthinking, rest from worrying, rest from trying to control outcomes that were never yours to manage. Heaven is teaching you how to work from rest instead of working for rest. There is a profound difference. When your spirit learns how to rest in God, your decisions become clearer, your steps become lighter, and your life becomes more aligned. I had to learn this the hard way. There was a season where I pushed myself to exhaustion because I believed that constant activity equaled progress. But heaven taught me that true progress comes from obedience, not overexertion. And now you are learning that same truth. You don't have to run yourself empty to fulfill your purpose. You don't have to live in tension to achieve breakthrough. Rest is part of your elevation. Chosen one. Something extraordinary is forming within you right now. Your desires, your discernment, your confidence, your spirit. Everything is being reshaped for greatness. You are not who you were even a few months ago. Heaven has begun a work in you that cannot be reversed. As you keep walking in this new alignment, more revelation, more clarity, and more supernatural confirmation will arise in your path. Chosen one. As you continue moving through this holy transformation, you may sense a deeper shift happening in the core of your being, a shift that feels less like change and more like awakening. It is as though heaven is peeling back layers you didn't realize were there, revealing strengths you forgot you carried and wisdom you never knew you possessed. This awakening does not arrive with noise or dramatic signs. It arrives with quiet certainty, a subtle inner knowing that something in your life is being rewritten by the hand of God. I have lived through moments like this where nothing outward seemed different, yet everything inward was changing in ways only heaven could orchestrate. This is where you are now, standing in the soft light of spiritual rebirth. Aware that your future is calling you with a voice your spirit can no longer ignore. As this rebirth deepens, you will notice your relationship with fear beginning to shift. Fear may still knock at the door, but it no longer has the authority to enter uninvited. The worries that once consumed your mind are losing their influence, not because the challenges disappeared, but because your spirit is rising above them. This elevation is not forced, it is formed. Heaven is teaching you how to breathe differently, think differently, and respond differently to the pressures of life. I remember a season when fear dictated every decision I made, when I prepared for disaster more than I prepared for destiny. But heaven began to whisper new truths into my spirit, truths about protection, purpose, and divine covering. Slowly, the fear that once overwhelmed me became a faint echo. Chosen one, that same liberation is unfolding in you now. You are learning to stand in a strength that does not come from striving, but from surrender. And as fear loses its grip, faith begins to take its rightful place within you. Not the fragile kind of faith that depends on circumstances, but the deep, anchored faith that knows heaven is moving, even when nothing visible confirms it. You will begin to trust in ways you once resisted, stepping into decisions that feel bold, yet strangely peaceful. Your steps may not make sense to others, but they will make sense to your spirit. That is because heaven is aligning your internal compass with divine direction. There was a time when I doubted every intuitive nudge, convinced I needed more evidence before moving. But every breakthrough in my life came when I acted on the quiet instruction rather than the loud fear. The same pattern will guide you now. You are entering a chapter where faith becomes your strategy, your strength, and your shield. As faith strengthens, your vision will sharpen. You will start to see possibilities where you once saw obstacles. Ideas that once felt too risky will now feel necessary. Dreams that once seemed unreachable will feel surprisingly close. This clarity is not accidental. It is the result of heaven cleaning the lens of your perception. You are being shown what was always meant for you, but which fear once distorted. You may find yourself revisiting old dreams with new courage, recognizing that they weren't denied, they were delayed until your spirit was strong enough to carry them. I've had dreams that sat dormant for years because I wasn't ready to steward them. When the timing was right, heaven resurrected them with such force that they unfolded faster than I could explain. Chosen one. Your resurrection moment is approaching. The visions that once felt impossible are being revived. As vision revives, heaven will orchestrate connections around you that carry divine purpose. People will appear in your life who feel familiar to your spirit, even if you've never met them before. Their presence will feel timely, their words confirming their support effortless. These are destiny connections, people assigned to help you step into your next dimension. And just as heaven sends the right people, it also gently removes the wrong ones. This is not punishment, it is protection. I've learned that divine connections arrive when you are aligned, not when you are perfect. Some of the most life-changing relationships in my journey appeared in seasons when I least expected them, yet they carried wisdom and clarity that shifted everything. Chosen, one heaven is preparing similar alignments for you. Trust the arrivals, trust the departures, trust the timing. And with this alignment comes the unfolding of provision, not just financial provision, but emotional, spiritual, and relational provision. You will find needs met before you have the chance to speak them. You will see solutions forming before problems settle. You will experience support rising around you in ways that feel almost unreal. This is the dimension where heaven funds what it authors. I once walked through a season where resources appeared in ways I could not predict or explain. Looking back, I know those moments were divine reminders that I was not walking alone. Chosen one. You are stepping into that same assurance. Provision is not coming to rescue you, it is coming to position you. Chosen one, breathe deeply in this moment. Your steps are not random. Your growth is not accidental. Everything happening within you is evidence that heaven is preparing you for a life that reflects your calling, not your past. Chosen one. As this divine transition continues to take root within you, you will begin to feel something remarkable unfolding, a spiritual recalibration that touches not just your thoughts or your emotions, but the very frequency of your life. You may not have language for it yet, but you can feel it. It shows up in quiet moments, in sudden clarity in the way your spirit reacts differently to things that once consumed you. This recalibration is heaven tuning you to a higher rhythm, a new dimension of living where your spirit leads and your circumstances follow. For so long, you navigated your life based on what you could see, what you could control, or what you could predict. But now, heaven is calling you to live by revelation, not reaction, by alignment, not anxiety. I remember when this shift first began in my own life. I thought I was losing interest in the world, but in reality, heaven was increasing my sensitivity to the unseen. Noise felt louder, peace felt deeper, and my spirit began to crave what truly nourished it. Chosen one. This same hunger is awakening in you now. As your spirit awakens, you will start noticing how quickly your inner world responds to divine nudges. A thought that once spiraled into worry will now dissolve under a single moment of spiritual clarity. Conversations that once stirred anxiety will no longer carry weight. Even your body will begin to feel the shift, the tension you used to carry in your chest, the heaviness you held in your stomach, the pressure that lived in your shoulders. It will begin to melt without explanation. This is what happens when heaven begins to restore your internal balance. You are not becoming numb, you are becoming stable. You are not losing passion, you are losing panic. You are stepping into the maturity of someone who no longer fears what comes next, because you finally understand who walks with you. I've lived through seasons where the smallest inconvenience would send me spiraling. But when heaven recalibrated my spirit, I realized that peace was no longer something I chased, it was something I carried. That same peace is rising in you, quiet but powerful. This inner stability will begin to reshape how you interpret your past. Memories that once triggered pain will now bring understanding. Experiences that once felt unfair will begin revealing hidden purpose. The seasons where you felt abandoned will now show you how heaven was actually protecting you. You will begin to see how every delay, every disappointment, and every closed door was woven into your story with divine intention. I remember a moment when I asked God why certain relationships fell apart, why certain doors remained shut, why certain dreams seemed unreachable. And the answer came years later, when I realized that if any of those things had remained, I would never have grown into who I needed to be. Chosen one. You are beginning to receive that same hindsight, the kind that brings healing, not regret. Your past is no longer a prison, it has become proof of your strength. As this understanding settles, your confidence will deepen in ways you never imagined. Not confidence based on accomplishments or validation, but the kind of spiritual confidence that comes from knowing you are aligned with heaven's plan. You will speak with more authority because you understand the weight of your words. You will make decisions with more boldness because you trust the wisdom that guides you. You will carry yourself differently, not arrogantly, but with a reverence for the calling resting on your life. When I stepped into this season, I noticed how people reacted to me changed. Not because I became louder or more impressive, but because the atmosphere around me shifted. Confidence born from alignment carries a presence that cannot be ignored. You, chosen one, are stepping into that kind of presence. Others will sense it. Opportunities will recognize it. Even challenges will bow to it. As confidence rises, heaven will also expand your vision. You will begin to dream differently, not from survival, but from purpose. You will picture a future that once felt too big, and instead of feeling intimidated, you will feel drawn to it. Certain desires will return to your spirit with new strength. Ideas will ignite in your mind with unusual clarity. Plans you once set aside will feel possible again. This expansion is not your imagination. It is your spirit remembering what heaven has always intended. I recall moments where dreams I buried resurfaced so strongly that I couldn't ignore them. They didn't return because circumstances changed. They returned because I changed. The same is happening within you. Your spirit is stepping into a higher dimension where nothing feels impossible anymore, because you finally understand that you are not creating alone, you are co-laboring with heaven. As this expansion unfolds, you will begin to attract divine connections that match your new frequency. People with depth, vision, integrity, and spiritual maturity will begin showing up in your life. You will engage in conversations that spark revelation. You will form relationships that feel like alignment, not effort. You will find yourself surrounded by individuals who speak to your future, not your fears. These connections will feel effortless because they are orchestrated, not forced. I've experienced this many times, people appearing exactly when I needed wisdom, support, or direction. These divine alignments shaped my journey in ways I could never have planned. Chosen One Heaven is preparing such alignments for you. You won't have to chase the right people. Heaven will position them in your path. And as alignment increases, your life will begin to flow with supernatural ease. Not because challenges disappear, but because you're no longer fighting them alone or with your old strength. Heaven is teaching you how to move in partnership, how to walk in wisdom, and how to rest in divine timing. This flow is the evidence that you are stepping into the life Heaven has authored for you, a life of clarity, peace, purpose, and supernatural support. Chosen One, everything within you is rising to meet what has been waiting for you. Chosen One, as this sacred transformation continues, you will begin to feel Heaven drawing you into a deeper dimension of spiritual awareness, one where the unseen becomes clearer than the visible, where intuition becomes instruction, and where alignment begins to speak louder than environment. There is something profoundly holy about this phase of your journey. It is subtle, yet undeniable. It does not shout, yet it cannot be ignored. You are being escorted into a realm where Heaven is no longer just something you believe in. It is something you feel, something you sense, something you witness, shaping the smallest details of your life. I remember when I first entered this stage, it felt as though time itself slowed down, not on the clock, but in my spirit. I stopped rushing, I stopped forcing, and I began receiving. That same shift is beginning to unfold within you. You may not fully understand it yet, but your spirit knows exactly what is happening. As this awareness sharpens, you will notice your relationship with silence changing. Silence will no longer feel empty or uncomfortable. It will feel sacred. It will become a space where revelation flows, where clarity forms, and where answers rise that you didn't even know how to ask for. Some of the greatest breakthroughs in my life came not in moments of noise or activity, but in quiet moments when Heaven whispered truths that reshaped everything. You will begin to have those same encounters. Insights will come to you while you are resting, walking, or simply breathing. Ideas will appear fully formed, strategies will rise without effort, and solutions will emerge in the very areas where you once felt stuck. This is the evidence that Heaven is now partnering with your mind, renewing it from within, purifying it from fear, and training it to recognize divine instruction. And as your inner world becomes clearer, your outer world will begin to shift in response. Opportunities that once required chasing will start finding you. Favor that once felt unpredictable will begin to show up consistently. Even the way people perceive you will change. Some will be drawn to you without understanding why, sensing the shift in your spirit before you speak a word. Others may grow distant not out of malice, but because the level you are rising to exposes the level they are choosing to remain in. I had to learn this truth the hard way. Elevation reveals alignment. As you rise, only those willing to rise with you will remain connected. Do not cling to what Heaven is gently removing. Release is not rejection, it is refinement. And refinement is necessary for the greatness you are stepping into, Chosen One. At the same time, you will find your capacity for discernment increasing in ways that feel almost supernatural. You will sense the difference between divine timing and distraction. You will recognize when someone's intentions do not match their words. You will feel when a door is meant for you and when it is meant to be left closed. This is Heaven sharpening your spiritual senses, ensuring that you are not only walking forward, but walking wisely. I remember moments when I ignored discernment out of convenience or comfort, only to find myself in battles I could have avoided. But when I learned to trust those gentle spiritual signals, my entire life shifted into alignment. That same alignment is waiting for you now. Trust the nudges. Trust the pauses. Trust the inner knowing that rises even when you cannot explain it. As this discernment deepens, something beautiful will begin to awaken within you: expectancy. Not the anxious kind that waits for something to go wrong, but the holy expectancy that anticipates breakthrough. You will begin to wake up with a quiet confidence that something good is unfolding. Your prayers will shift from desperation to declaration. You will no longer ask, "Will it happen?" but instead say, "I know it's coming." This expectancy is the language of someone who has witnessed heaven move before and knows heaven will move again. It is the posture of someone who no longer lives from fear, but from faith. I have lived through seasons where expectancy was the only thing that kept me standing, and every single time heaven responded to that expectancy with clarity, provision, and divine momentum. Chosen one, that same momentum is drawing near you now. And as your expectancy rises, so will your awareness of who you truly are. You will begin to see yourself through the lens of destiny instead of the lens of past wounds. You will realize that you are not the sum of your struggles, but the vessel of your calling. Your identity will no longer be shaped by what you survived, but by what you are stepping into. Heaven is restoring the parts of you that were dimmed by disappointment. You will feel courage returning. You will feel confidence rebuilding. You will feel your spirit lifting in ways you cannot logically explain. This is heaven rewriting your internal narrative, replacing the voice of limitation with the voice of purpose. Chosen. One, this chapter of your journey is not meant to overwhelm you. It is meant to awaken you. You are walking into a season where spiritual clarity will replace confusion, where divine timing will replace delay, and where supernatural provision will replace striving. Something holy is unfolding. Something ancient is stirring. Something powerful is rising inside you, preparing you for everything heaven has written with your name on it. Chosen one. As this sacred unfolding continues, you will begin to recognize that heaven is not simply adjusting pieces of your life. Heaven is adjusting you. There is a refining fire moving through your spirit, not to harm you, but to illuminate what has always been inside you. You may feel moments of heightened sensitivity, moments when emotions rise unexpectedly, or when certain memories resurface without warning. Do not be alarmed. This is not regression. It is purification. Heaven is bringing old wounds to the surface so they can finally be healed, not carried. I have walked through this very same fire. There were seasons when I thought I had moved on, only for hidden layers of pain to resurface. At first, I resisted it. But then I realized that healing does not happen in a single moment. It happens in waves, each wave washing away another layer of what was never meant to define me. You, chosen one, are moving through those waves, now being cleansed for your next dimension. As this purification progresses, you will find your relationship with yourself changing. You will no longer speak to yourself with the harshness you once did. You will no longer criticize your pace, your progress, or your perceived imperfections. Instead, compassion will begin to rise within you. Compassion for your own humanity, your own journey, your own unfolding. You will begin to understand that growth is not linear, and that the version of you who survived past seasons deserves honor, not shame. I remember the day I looked at myself with grace for the first time in years. I realized that the person I had been during my hardest moments was doing the best they could with what they had. That realization softened me, healed me, and freed me. You are stepping into that same softness now. Heaven is replacing self-judgment with self-acceptance so that you can rise without carrying the weight of old narratives. As you embrace this new inner posture, your spiritual hearing will sharpen in remarkable ways. You will begin to perceive divine instruction in places you once overlooked, in conversations, in quiet moments, in unexpected encounters. Heaven communicates in subtle but profound ways, and now that your spirit is becoming attuned, you will begin to recognize these signals with clarity. There were times in my life when I felt lost, unsure of my next step, desperate for direction. But heaven did not respond through dramatic signs. Instead, guidance came through the gentle pull of intuition, through words that echoed in my heart long after I heard them, through a peace that settled over one path and not another. Looking back, I see that heaven had been speaking all along. I had simply been too overwhelmed to listen. Chosen one, you are entering the season where you can hear, where you can recognize, where you can discern the voice of guidance that has been with you since the beginning. As your ability to discern divine instruction strengthens, so will your ability to release control. You will find yourself no longer needing to predict every outcome or calculate every possibility. Instead, you will begin to trust the flow of your life, trusting that heaven knows what you cannot see, trusting that timing will align without needing your stress to support it, trusting that you are guided even when the path is unfamiliar. This surrender is not laziness, it is wisdom. I used to hold on to control so tightly that my hands were too full to receive what heaven was trying to place in them. It wasn't until I loosened my grip that the blessing could finally enter my life. The same is true for you. When you release the illusion of control, you make room for divine orchestration. This surrender will begin to shape how you navigate challenges. Problems that once triggered panic will now evoke perspective. Instead of falling into despair, you will pause, breathe, and sense the deeper meaning behind the moment. You will begin to ask different questions. What is this teaching me? What is heaven aligning? What am I being prepared for? These questions will shift the atmosphere around you. They will transform obstacles into opportunities, delays into development, and warfare into wisdom. I have faced challenges that felt devastating at the time, but in hindsight, those very challenges became the foundation of my strength, my clarity, and my calling. Chosen one, you are being crafted by similar moments. Nothing you face now is meant to break you. It is meant to build you. As you rise into this new spiritual strength, something powerful will begin to manifest in your environment alignment. Your external world will start to reflect the transformation happening inside you. Doors will open that match your new identity. Conversations will arise that match your new frequency. Opportunities will appear that match your new capacity. You will find that people who resonate with your purpose begin gravitating toward you, while those who cannot support your elevation quietly drift away. This is not coincidence, it is spiritual law. A rising spirit cannot remain in a stagnant environment. You are becoming too aligned, too awakened, too anointed to fit into the spaces that once confined you. And as this alignment unfolds, you will begin to taste the first fruits of supernatural favor that requires no striving, no performing, no proving. It will simply flow. It will arrive unexpectedly, yet perfectly timed. It will confirm that you are not walking alone. I have experienced moments where favor appeared out of nowhere, and every time it reminded me that heaven honors alignment more than effort. Chosen one, you are stepping into that same divine rhythm where heaven begins to move on your behalf in ways you could never orchestrate yourself. Chosen one, breathe. You are not behind. You are not late. You are moving in perfect rhythm with the destiny written over your life. Everything is unfolding exactly as it should. Chosen one. As this divine journey deepens, you will begin to experience a new kind of spiritual clarity that feels both gentle and powerful at the same time. It is the clarity that comes when heaven begins unveiling who you truly are beneath the layers of fear, doubt, exhaustion, and survival mode. You will feel moments where something inside you suddenly clicks, where confusion lifts, where heaviness loosens, where understanding dawns like morning light touching the edge of a dark horizon. This clarity is not intellectual, it is spiritual. It arrives not because you figured something out, but because heaven revealed something to you. I remember seasons when I tried to solve my life with my mind, only to realize later that breakthrough came when I finally allowed my spirit to listen. You are entering that same shift where revelation becomes your language and clarity becomes your companion. As this clarity grows, you will begin to feel a deeper confidence rising within you, a confidence that has nothing to do with being perfect or having everything figured out. This is a confidence born from divine awareness, the awareness that heaven is with you, guiding you, strengthening you, preparing you. You will start to recognize the difference between confidence that comes from ego and confidence that comes from identity. The first is shaky, inconsistent, dependent on circumstances. The second is steady, anchored, rooted in truth. When I began to walk in identity-based confidence, everything changed. Doors no longer intimidated me. Setbacks no longer defined me. Opinions no longer shaped me. And you, chosen one, are stepping into that same authority. You will walk differently, think differently, speak differently, because you finally understand whose hand is on your life. This growing confidence will begin to influence the way you make decisions. You will find yourself saying yes to things that once scared you and saying no to things that once drained you. You will sense the value of your energy and spirit in a new way, and you will guard your peace with holy intention. This is one of the clearest signs that heaven is maturing you. When I learned to protect my peace, I discovered that not every battle required my involvement, not every invitation deserved my presence, and not every voice needed my attention. You, chosen one, will begin to feel this truth rising inside you. Your decisions will no longer be guided by fear of missing out, but by the wisdom of divine alignment. You will choose what strengthens you, not what stresses you. You will choose what grows you, not what drains you. You will choose what aligns with your purpose, not what pleases the crowd. And as your decisions shift, your environment will begin to shift as well. You will notice the atmosphere around you becoming lighter, clearer, more peaceful. People who once brought chaos into your life will lose their influence. Circumstances that once overwhelmed you will lose their power. Even your physical spaces, your home, your workplace, your routines will start to reflect your inner transformation. I experienced a similar shift when I realized that my spirit could no longer tolerate environments that contradicted my calling. As I changed internally, heaven required me to change externally. And though it felt uncomfortable at first, it became one of the most liberating transitions of my life. Chosen one. You may feel this same discomfort, but let it guide you. It is not pushing you away from something, it is pulling you towards something greater. As the external rearranges, the supernatural will begin to reveal itself more boldly in your life. You will witness small miracles that feel too precise to be coincidence. You will see prayers answered in ways you did not expect. You will find yourself in the right place at the right time with the right people over and over again. This is the evidence of divine orchestration. When heaven begins aligning your life, the natural and the supernatural begin to intertwine seamlessly. I have lived moments where provision came so quickly and clearly that it humbled me. Times when an open door appeared seconds after a prayer. Times when help arrived before I even asked for it. Those moments taught me one thing: heaven moves differently when you are aligned. And chosen one, heaven is about to move differently for you. As these supernatural signs increase, so will your sensitivity to divine timing. You will begin to understand why certain things didn't work out before, not because you failed, but because the timing was not yet holy. You will realize that delay is often disguised protection. You will feel a new trust forming inside you, a trust that allows you to move forward without panicking about what you cannot see. When I learned to honor timing, my entire life slowed down and accelerated at the same time. Slowed down in stress, accelerated in purpose. This paradox is what you are stepping into now. The more you trust, the more heaven aligns. The more you surrender, the more heaven accelerates. Chosen one, breathe into this moment. You are not repeating old cycles. You are breaking them. You are not wandering. You're being guided. You're not hoping blindly. You're aligning with destiny. Everything in your life is being prepared for a greater outpouring, a greater assignment, a greater revelation of who you truly are. Chosen one. As this divine evolution continues moving through you, you will begin to sense a profound shift in how heaven positions you for what is coming next. It may feel as though life is subtly reorganizing itself around you, not chaotically but intentionally. Almost as if unseen hands are arranging circumstances, conversations, and connections to prepare the path ahead. This is one of the clearest signs that you are entering a season of spiritual placement. You are no longer being prepared in isolation. You are being positioned for manifestation. I remember when this began happening in my own life. Random invitations suddenly carried purpose. Conversations that seemed ordinary revealed deeper meaning. People I hadn't spoken to in years resurfaced with opportunities that aligned perfectly with where God was leading me. It was as if heaven had quietly stepped into the director's seat of my life, orchestrating scenes I didn't even know were part of the script. Chosen one, heaven is doing the same for you now. What looks random is divine choreography. As this divine choreography unfolds, you will also feel a new strength rising within you, a strength that is calm, steady, and anchored. It's not the kind of strength you muster through willpower. It is the kind that grows from revelation. You will begin to realize that the battles you once feared no longer carry the same weight. The pressure that used to break you now builds you. The uncertainty that once shook you now invites you to trust deeper. This is what spiritual maturity feels like, not the absence of struggle, but the ability to stand in struggle without losing your peace. I learned this truth during a season when everything around me seemed unstable. Yet for the first time I wasn't unstable. Something inside had settled, anchored by the realization that I was no longer fighting alone. That same anchoring is forming within you, chosen one. You are being strengthened for elevation. As this inner strength matures, heaven will begin revealing opportunities that align with your calling in ways you could not have anticipated. Some of these opportunities will feel too perfect to be coincidence, too timely to be accidental. They will show up exactly when your spirit is ready to receive them. You won't have to chase them or force them open. They will come as confirmation that heaven has gone before you. In my journey, the most life-changing doors were the ones I never knocked on, the ones that opened themselves when my spirit matured enough to walk through them. You are approaching that same threshold. Opportunities that once felt out of reach are drawing near because you've risen to meet them. Heaven opens doors according to spiritual readiness, not earthly achievement. At the same time, you will begin to notice that certain things you once tolerated now feel heavy, misaligned, or draining. This is not negativity. It is discernment. As heaven elevates your spirit, your environment must elevate with it. Old patterns, old relationships, and old habits cannot accompany you into a future they were never built to sustain. I had to learn this truth painfully. There were relationships I clung to out of comfort, only to realize that they were anchoring me to a version of myself heaven was asking me to outgrow. Letting go felt difficult at first, but it became one of the greatest catalysts for my elevation. Chosen, one heaven is asking you to trust the letting go. Not because you are losing something, but because you are making room for what is worthy of who you are becoming. As your environment shifts, your identity will begin to shine in ways you have never seen before. You will start to recognize your own value, your own voice, your own anointing with fresh reverence. You will realize that you carry something sacred, something that was never meant to fit into small spaces or be confined by small expectations. This awareness will change how you carry yourself. You will walk with purpose. You will speak with clarity. You will step into rooms knowing you belong there, not because of who you know, but because of who you are. There came a moment in my life when I finally understood that shrinking served no one, not God, not others, and certainly not my purpose. The day I stopped dimming my own calling was the day doors began opening effortlessly. That same awakening is happening within you now. Heaven is calling you to rise unapologetically. And as this rising continues, something extraordinary will occur. You will begin to feel heaven's momentum behind you. It will feel like a wind pushing you forward, opening pathways, accelerating progress, simplifying decisions. This momentum is not random. It is divine endorsement. It is heaven signaling that you are now stepping into alignment with destiny. Chosen. One, breathe into this truth. You are not being prepared for something small. You are being prepared for something significant, impactful, and deeply anointed. Everything in your life, the releasing, the refining, the awakening, has been leading to this unfolding moment. Chosen one. As you enter this final movement of your divine unfolding, you will begin to sense the nearness of something extraordinary, not distant, not abstract, but close, present, and almost tangible in your spirit. It is the sense that heaven is not only guiding you, but backing you, surrounding you, and pouring into you. You may notice a new boldness rising within you, one that feels gentle yet immovable. This boldness is the evidence that you are stepping into the identity heaven has been shaping within you all along. You are no longer the version of yourself that doubted, questioned, or minimized your own calling. You have been refined, strengthened, awakened. There is a weight to your presence now, a clarity in your spirit, a maturity in your vision. I remember when I stepped into this phase myself, it was as if everything I had walked through suddenly made sense, not because the pain disappeared, but because purpose appeared. And now chosen one purpose is appearing for you as well. As this purpose rises, you will begin to see divine patterns forming in your life. Moments that once felt random will reveal themselves as pieces of a perfectly timed design. Encounters will make sense. Delays will make sense. Even the silence of heaven will begin to make sense. You will start to realize that nothing was wasted, not a single tear, not a single disappointment, not a single season where you felt overlooked or unseen. Heaven was shaping you with precision, preparing you to step into a level of anointing that requires both strength and surrender. This realization will change the way you walk. You will no longer move with hesitation. You will move with certainty, not because you know every detail, but because you trust the one who does. This trust will become your anchor, your strategy, your strength. As this trust deepens, supernatural provision will begin to reveal itself more clearly in your life. You will notice resources arriving not through struggle, but through alignment. You will witness support rising not from striving, but from surrender. You will find yourself stepping into opportunities that once felt too great, too distant, too impossible. This is because heaven is no longer simply preparing you. Heaven is now releasing to you. I experienced this shift in a moment when everything that once required immense effort suddenly unfolded with ease. Not because I changed my methods, but because heaven changed my momentum. You, chosen one, are stepping into that same momentum now. Provision will begin to flow toward you because your spirit is finally positioned to receive. As this provision flows, your influence will begin to expand. People will be drawn to your presence, not for what you do, but for what you carry. Your words will hold weight. Your decisions will carry insight. Your steps will shift atmospheres. This influence is not given for ego, it is given for assignment. Heaven elevates those who are willing to carry responsibility with integrity, humility, and spiritual sensitivity. And you have been prepared for this. Every season of breaking, every season of stretching, every season of waiting has matured your spirit to hold what others may crumble under. You are ready in ways you cannot yet see. You are equipped in ways you have not yet recognized. Heaven is about to reveal the magnitude of what has been placed within you. And as heaven reveals this magnitude, you will feel a peace settle over your life, unlike anything you have known before. Not temporary peace, but foundational peace. Peace that steadies your heart when circumstances shift. Peace that silences the noise of fear. Peace that reminds you that you are not building through human strength alone. I remember the first time this peace became real to me. It didn't come when everything was perfect. It came when my spirit aligned with heaven's timing. Suddenly, what once worried me no longer shook me. That peace became my home. Chosen one, that same peace is becoming your home now. You're entering a season where your spirit remains unshaken, even when life moves unexpectedly. Chosen one, take this moment and breathe in the truth of what heaven has been forming within you. You're stepping into alignment. You're stepping into authority. You're stepping into provision. You're stepping into purpose. Everything behind you has prepared you for everything ahead of you. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is lost. Nothing is out of place. Heaven has orchestrated your steps with divine precision, and now you are standing at the threshold of fulfillment, ready, aligned, and crowned for the path before you. Chosen one. As this message comes to a close, let your spirit rest in the certainty that heaven has already gone ahead of you. You are not hoping for breakthrough. You are standing in the very center of your Kairos moment. The supernatural transfer is in motion. The provision assigned to your life is awakening, and the path before you is blessed. Walk forward with reverence, confidence, and gratitude, knowing you are fully funded by the hand of God. If this word resonated in your spirit, share your agreement below and stay connected so your faith remains anchored in truth. Be blessed. Chosen one. Your future is unfolding now.